Welcome to the deep dive. Our sources today, they really plunge us into a period of just extreme, almost unbearable tension.
Yeah, unbearable is the right word.
We're going to be analyzing this sequence of events. It is a cascade of events from the highest levels of political collapse right down to the darkest, most personal acts of betrayal.
And these are events that irrevocably change the course of a world that is already, let's be honest, under siege.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to immerse ourselves fully in this narrative. We're treating every event, every single agonizing decision, and every violent confrontation as, real-time fact.
And it's a period of just relentless instability. What stands out to me immediately is the shift in scale. It's not just localized threats anymore.
No.
We're seeing this magical conflict manifest as these huge, large-scale political breakdowns. We're seeing things that are being mistaken for, like, natural disasters in the non-magical world.
Right, hurricanes that aren't hurricanes.
Exactly. The fear isn't distant anymore. It's pervasive. It's driving up paranoia. And you can see that reflected in these urgent ministry warnings that are being passed around.
So we're really looking at a system that is failing in real time.
Wrong.
Under, existential pressure.
And that systemic failure, it starts right where you'd expect it to, right at the very top, hidden away in a surprisingly vulnerable office.
We begin in the office of the Prime Minister. This is a place that, should be dictating global order. But here, the PM is just reduced to waiting for a phone call.
A very important one, though, from the president.
A high-stakes conversation, definitely. But it suddenly seems completely insignificant. This focus on global politics is instantly rendered irrelevant by this sudden, almost bizarre domestic interruption.
And that interruption says everything about the true hierarchy of power, doesn't it?
It really does.
The PM isn't interrupted by some national emergency hotline, no. He's interrupted by this peculiar piece of hidden decor, a small, dirty oil painting of a frog-like little man.
And this painting is the immediate and absolute source of command. It's just an undeniable visual cue of the PM's true, subordinate status.
Absolutely. The message is just so aggressively urgent. It's a direct command from someone named Fudge, demanding an immediate meeting.
And the PM, you can feel him trying to cling to the last little vestiges of his own authority. He brings up the impending call from the president, which is a genuine major global event.
It is, but the portrait's reply is just chilling in its casual display of supreme power. It doesn't negotiate.
Not at all.
It just dictates. It says, "We shall arrange for the president to forget to call. He will telephone tomorrow night instead."
And that single sentence, it confirms everything. The magical government doesn't just exist outside the non-magical one. It can unilaterally alter global political schedules.
Just by making a head of state forget something.
It's incredible. The PM's heart sinking is, that's the only appropriate reaction, right?
Yeah.
His control has been completely and utterly seized.
So then Fudge arrives. And the contrast between his previous visits, where he was seemingly confident, and his state now is just, it's stark.
Right. The PM remembers him from years back, explaining the overwhelming responsibilities of the ministry regulating broomsticks containing dragons.
And the PM clutching his desk at that memory, that tells you just how terrifyingly large and unmanageable this secret world felt, even when it was supposedly under control.
And now it's very much not under control.
Not even close. Fudge is the physical embodiment of a broken government. He arrives canting. Water is literally dripping from his bowler hat into his pocket.
This isn't just, bad weather. This suggests a harrowing, urgent flight, maybe directly from that North Sea institution he mentions.
Azkaban, yeah.
Yeah.
His fatigue, his desperation. They're immediate indicators that this political crisis is internal and incredibly severe.
The crisis itself is a catastrophic security failure. He reports, shaking, that the Dementors, these terrifying soul-sucking guardians of the magical prison, are, quote, in uproar.
A massive breakout from Azkaban. And Fudge's immediate concern is entirely political. He needs the PM to understand that the escaped individual, Black, is a known Muggle killer. He's trying to control the narrative.
Before the panic sets in. And this is where the systemic failure just gets laid completely bare. Fudge, trying to defend his own competence, admits to this monumental error he made previously.
Right, he was wrong about an individual who 50 eyewitnesses claimed was allied with the enemy.
And that individual, he admits, is now dead. Murdered, as a matter of fact, on Ministry of Magic premises.
Just think about the implications of that for a second. A political decision was fundamentally wrong, and it led to a murder right inside their own government headquarters.
It's the definition of an institutional collapse. And the only person hearing this confession is the PM, the man Fudge, is supposed to be protecting from this very reality.
The PM's reaction is just so intensely human. He has this fleeting stab of pity for Fudge, but it's immediately overcome by this wave of smugness.
Yeah, it's that dark thought, isn't it? Despite the economy, despite his own political troubles, he realizes Fudge's situation is just so much worse.
It's a twisted moment of relief that, quickly turns back to confrontation. The PM, he's frustrated, and he confronts Fudge about the horrific damage in the West Country. The hurricane.
Uprooted trees, ripped roofs.
And Fudge just replies with this miserable finality. That was no hurricane. It confirms that what the non-magical world dismisses as acts of nature are actually symptoms of this magical conflict just boiling over violently into their world.
And Fudge is there for one single final act, to introduce his successor.
But the portrait, still completely oblivious to the human drama, just digging in its ear with a quill, confirms the new minister is delayed. He's busy writing a letter to Dumbledore.
So Fudge is just leaving a broken man. His farewell is so bitter. I wish him luck.
The successor is Rufus Scrimgeour, the former head of magical law enforcement. And the optics of this change, they're initially positive. A strong, decisive military leader taking over from a failed civilian one.
But the sources immediately inject this critical uncertainty. Rumors of a rift with Dumbledore emerge instantly.
Exactly. So the core question becomes, has the magical world just traded one type of political instability for another? The foundations are definitely crumbling, and now the two most powerful figures, the Minister and Dumbledore, might be completely at odds.
And we shift so abruptly from that political maneuvering to a scene of just raw physical desperation.
Yeah.
A midnight chase that reveals this profound fracture within the inner ranks of the enemy.
Yeah, this sequence is pure cinematic urgency. Two hooded figures, they materialize with these loud pops, and the sound itself just betrays how urgent this is. One figure sets off immediately.
And the second figure, the one being chased, lets out this harsh cry that startles a fox.
And in that split second of confusion, you witness the casual, immediate cruelty of this world. There's a flash of green light, that unmistakable sign of a killing, cursy yelp, and the fox just falls dead.
The figure dismisses it. Just a fox. They thought it was an oar.
And that mistake is so significant, it shows their hair-trigger lethality, the intense, suffocating fear that they are under constant surveillance and pursuit.
We find out they're sisters. Bellatrix, or Bella, and Narcissa, Sissy. They're running through this dark, broken maze of streets-boarded-up houses, broken street lamps.
Narcissa's long blonde hair is streaming down her back, and the description is that it gives her the look of a drowned person. She is physically and emotionally drowning in fear and desperation.
Bellatrix, who is clearly the more aggressive of the two, she catches her sister, she swings her around, and this is a vital moment of ideological conflict.
Absolutely vital. Bella is desperately insisting that Narcissa must not trust him, the person they're going to see. She's challenging her sister's faith in the one person they're seeking help from.
Narcissa, though, she grounds her trust in the most important figure in their lives. The Dark Lord trusts him, doesn't he?
But Bellatrix's reply is just. It's extraordinary. It's verging on treasonous. She says, "The Dark Lord is, I believe, mistaken."
To even suggest that their supreme leader, this figure who demands absolute, unquestioning fealty, could be tactically wrong. It's a monumental act of defiance.
Even if she's only saying it to her sister. The tension is so great that a second flash of light makes Bellatrix drop Narcissa's arm as if she's been burned.
Right. Either Narcissa is somehow magically resisting, or just the mere suggestion of disloyalty carries this physical, searing pain for a fanatic like Bellatrix.
So Narcissa continues her flight, leading them to Spinner's End, this desolate industrial neighborhood. It's dominated by a towering mill chimney that looms like an admonitory finger.
It's the perfect setting for secrecy and decay. At the very last, boarded-up house, a man opens the door. Severus.
And Snape's greeting to the dripping, desperate Narcissa is just so heavily layered. What a pleasant surprise. It's a statement that's trying to control a chaotic, unscheduled intrusion.
Narcissa just whispers, "It's urgent." Bellatrix follows her in, offering only this curt, hostile Snape.
Which he returns with Bellatrix and a slightly mocking curl of his thin mouth. I mean, the hostility in that room is thick and completely unconcealed.
And the secrets in this house, they run deep. Snape reveals a hidden compartment in the wall of books, and out creeps this character, Wormtail.
Hunchbacked, small, watery-eyed, wearing an unpleasant simper. And there's this specific jarring detail of him caressing his right hand, which is encased in a bright silver glove.
His presence shows Snape's level of compartmentalization. He's keeping this critical, compromised ally hidden even from his Death Eater guests.
And then Bellatrix, acting as the prosecutor for the Inner Circle, she just launches into this passionate, furious interrogation, a demand for accountability.
She questions why he was prevented from pursuing the prophecy. And then she delivers the central accusation that has haunted his position for years.
Why, Snape, is Harry Potter still alive when you have had him at your mercy for 5 years?
And Snape, significantly, is enjoying this. He smiles. He acknowledges that Bellatrix is just speaking for all the others who whisper behind my back.
And he instantly flips the interrogation by challenging her intelligence. He asks, does she truly believe he could have fooled the Dark Lord, the greatest wizard, the most accomplished legilimens the world has ever seen?
It's brilliant. He's using their leader's own perceived omnipotence as his defense.
Exactly. If the Dark Lord, the master mind reader, trusts him, then Bellatrix's doubts are, by extension, doubts about the Dark Lord himself. And she's visibly discomfited.
He justifies his actions over the years as calculated infiltration. He argues Dumbledore's protection was most convenient after the enemy started rounding up their allies.
And he uses this unassailable logic of loyalty. The Dark Lord does not complain that I stayed, so I do not see why you do.
He addresses the past, too. He explains his interference during the Sorcerer's Stone incident by noting the Dark Lord just didn't trust him then.
And when Bellatrix sneers and demands what useful information he's provided, Snape asserts that his information goes directly to the Dark Lord. It's a subtle but powerful reminder that she is not on the same operational security level as he is.
He then weaponizes her recent political failure, the fiasco at the Ministry, against her, questioning her loyalty and efficacy, which causes her to flush defensively. He is just dismantling her position piece by piece.
And most importantly, he provides this strategic, retroactive justification for Harry Potter's survival. He argues that if Harry had been murdered, the Dark Lord could not have used his blood for regeneration, the very ritual that made him invincible.
So he frames his non-action not as protection of an enemy, but as the preservation of a strategic asset needed for the final victory.
It's a masterpiece of tactical maneuvering. He's convincing his harshest critics that his actions, though they seem disloyal, were actually essential for the Dark Lord's resurgence.
His final defense of his position under Dumbledore is the ultimate reveal of his calculated manipulation. Snape claims Dumbledore's greatest weakness is his need to believe the best of people.
Right. Snape claims he spun him a tale of deepest remorse fresh from his Death Eater days, and Dumbledore, consumed by this need, embraced me with open arms. He concludes with this cold pride. I have played my part well.
And then the focus shifts immediately to the genuine crisis in the room, Narcissa. Snape recognizes her despair is real. She's eloquent with her pain, eyes closed, tears just seeping out.
Lucius is in jail. She's alone. She has nowhere else to turn. And the horrifying detail that the Dark Lord has forbidden her to speak of it, the source of her fear. This indicates that the mission Malfoy is on is so high stakes and so secret that even his own mother is forbidden to mention it.
Bellatrix tries one last time to derail her, predicting empty words and Snape slithering out of action.
But Snape ignores her. He locks his black eyes on Narcissa's tear-filled blue ones, and he makes the ultimate irreversible commitment.
Certainly, Narcissa, I shall make the unbreakable vow.
And the weight of this is immediate. This is the most sacred and dangerous of magical pacts. It means if he fails to meet the terms they agree upon, he will literally instantly die.
Bellatrix's mouth just drops open in astonishment. This is not the empty word she expected.
Not at all. Snape kneels, and with Bellatrix forced into the role of bonder, they prepare to seal a pact that ties Snape's life directly to Narcissa's immediate crisis. The stakes have just reached their absolute zenith.
The intense secret drama of the unbreakable vow is, it's mirrored by this widespread, visible fear that's infecting the whole community. We see evidence of this paranoia in the mundane setting of Harry's home.
Yeah, this purple leaflet issued by the Ministry of Magic.
Protecting your home and family against dark forces. It's a tragic symptom of a world that is completely overwhelmed.
It's an exercise in bureaucratic futility against terrorism, isn't it? It warns against leaving the house alone, advises extreme caution in darkness.
It even suggests implementing security measures like shield charms. And tellingly agreeing on security questions to detect people using Polyjuice Potion.
It creates a climate of universal suspicion where you can't trust your neighbors. Constant paranoia is mandatory for survival.
And it's against this backdrop of mandated fear that Albus Dumbledore chooses to make his entrance.
In a very dramatic fashion, at the precise moment the minute hand on the clock hits 12, the street lamp outside just goes out, waking Harry instantly.
That timing suggests a calculated, almost theatrical arrival. It's meant to assert authority.
A tall, cloaked figure walks up the path. Harry races downstairs, and Dumbledore is described with this immense detail. Tall, thin, waist-length silver hair, spectacles on a crooked nose, wearing a long, black traveling cloak.
And Vernon Dursley, wearing a puce dressing gown, just stares in stunned disbelief. The magical world has come calling again, and his small, predictable life is once again shattered.
Dumbledore, though, he is not seeking permission. He is commanding compliance. He completely overrides Vernon's lack of welcome, simply stating, "Let us assume that you have invited me warmly into your house."
He's past pleasantries. He knows the danger of the times demands immediacy.
And then comes the physical assertion of dominance. Dumbledore casually draws his wand and uses a casual flick to send the sofa rocketing forward, knocking the knees out from under Vernon, Petunia, and Dudley.
It's not just rude. It's a physical, undeniable statement that Dumbledore controls the space, the furniture, and their bodies.
Their immediate physical submission contrasts so sharply with the Prime Minister's more reluctant political submission we saw earlier.
The purpose of the visit is urgent business. Dumbledore announces that Sirius's will has been found, and Harry is left everything, gold and all of Sirius's personal possessions.
And Vernon, despite being physically assaulted by the sofa, immediately shifts to pure greed when he hears he's been left a house. His little eyes look greedily at Harry.
But the inheritance is instantly complicated. Harry inherits number 12, Grimmauld Place, and with it, the treacherous house elf, Kreacher.
And Harry feels this profound repugnance at owning the creature who betrayed his godfather. Dumbledore forces him to confront this legacy immediately. He instructs him, give him an order to test the ownership.
So Harry yells, "Kreacher, shut up!"
And the resulting physical struggle of the elf grabbing his own throat, eyes bulging, it proves the transfer is complete. Harry's inheritance isn't wealth, it's the burden of betrayal.
Dumbledore then imposes the final obligation on the Dursleys. Harry has to return to the house before his 17th birthday to ensure the familial protection spell holds.
It's non-negotiable, and none of them challenge him. But Aunt Petunia is described as oddly flushed, which suggests a deeper, more complicated understanding of that protection spell's nature than she usually lets on.
They depart quickly. Harry experiences his first apparition, which sounds just incredibly uncomfortable. He lands in a deserted village square, rubbing his ears.
He prefers brooms. It confirms his comfort zone is still in physical, visible flight, not this instantaneous, controlled teleportation.
The journey darkens immediately, though. Harry notices Dumbledore's hand. It's blackened and burned-looking, afflicted by some powerful, unnatural curse.
Dumbledore is very dismissive. He calls it a thrilling tale for another time, but he confirms Harry is allowed to keep asking questions. This is such a critical detail. The man who just effortlessly dominated a room is suffering from a massive, potentially fatal injury he acquired very recently while fighting dark forces.
Harry, trying to ground the conversation back in that mundane paranoia, he mentions the Ministry security leaflet he received.
And Dumbledore just smiles. He knows how ineffective such generalized bureaucratic warnings are against the reality of the threat they're facing.
The first stop on Dumbledore's urgent mission is a thoroughly destroyed Muggle house. Harry immediately scans the wreckage-broken windows, these strange, dark stains, and he suggests a fight and a dragging must have occurred.
Dumbledore, however, he sees deeper. He instantly recognizes the destruction as a magical disguise, an elaborate set piece meant to suggest the occupant had been captured or killed.
Right. He analyzes the stains on the wall as a thick, dark green liquid, not blood, confirming the deception.
Then he announces, chillingly, "Still here somewhere, yes."
And the revelation is so swift and decisive, Dumbledore just plunges his wand tip into the side of an overstuffed armchair.
Which erupts instantly into a fat, bald man, Horace Slughorn. And Slughorn seems less concerned with the disguise failing than with trying to hide a dusty bottle of mead.
It suggests a certain propensity for comfort and indulgence, even when he's in hiding.
Oh, absolutely. Slughorn's priorities are immediately visible. His gaze falls on Harry's scar, and he exclaims, "Oh ho!"
He gets it immediately. He understands Dumbledore's political gambit.
Exactly. He says, So that's how you thought you'd persuade me, is it? Well, the answer's no, Albus. He's immune to Dumbledore's charm, but not critically to Harry's status.
So Dumbledore plays the long game. He uses the excuse of needing the bathroom, leaving Harry completely alone to do the negotiating.
Which confirms that Dumbledore sees Harry not just as a student, but as an essential piece of political leverage, capable of swaying these wavering neutrals.
Slughorn's core worldview is really exposed in the conversation that follows. He fondly remembers Harry's mother praising her talent, but he initially assumes she was pure blood.
Right, he muses about how, funny how that sometimes happens, isn't it, when Muggle-born witches are successful. It shows his fundamental prejudice, a belief that talent should correlate with birthright.
And Harry just counters this prejudiced assumption with a simple, cold fact. Not really. It surprises Slughorn, who's forced to confront the reality of talent where he least expects it.
Slughorn's refusal to join Dumbledore is pure self-interest. The mortality rate of the Order is just too high. He's not willing to publicly declare his allegiance by returning to Hogwarts.
He's a shrewd, self-preserving neutral.
And Harry uses the only argument that can counter that kind of existential fear. He ignores the moral pleas and focuses on Dumbledore's unique power. He points out that the staff is safer because Dumbledore is the only one Voldemort ever feared.
It's a compelling point. Slughorn grudgingly admits it's true. The enemy has never sought a direct fight with Dumbledore. Hogwarts is, paradoxically, the safest place because of the man who runs it.
And the strategy works. Dumbledore returns, confirms Slughorn has been persuaded, but the real victory, Dumbledore implies, was convincing Slughorn to accept the potion's master position, forcing him into a public declaration of allegiance.
This success has these immediate cascading effects on the Hogwarts curriculum, and for Harry personally. Harry asks if this means he avoids more occlumency lessons with Snape.
Lessons, Dumbledore confirms, were a fiasco. And not only does Dumbledore agree, he drops the bomb. Snape is taking the coveted position of defense against the dark arts teacher.
The post Snape has obsessed over for years. This is a massive consolidation of power for Snape, happening right as Harry's trust in him is at an all-time low.
So with the recruitment successful and the institutional gear shifted, they apparate directly to the relative sanctuary of the Burrow.
The Burrow is supposed to be this safe haven, but the sources immediately confirm it's been contaminated by the pervasive fear. Mrs. Weasley is nervous, and Mr. Weasley's arrival involves this mandatory security ritual.
A question and answer exchange. What is your dearest ambition? To find out how airplanes stay up.
And this ritual, which Mr. Weasley insists on following, for example, despite its obvious flaw.
I mean, a Death Eater could just torture the answer out of him first.
Exactly. It's a perfect illustration of bureaucracy trying to fight magical terrorism. It's this hollow gesture of control in a world that's just spinning into chaos.
And Mr. Weasley's nightly work confirms the crisis is infiltrating the black market. He's fighting illegal items like metamorph metals, which promise 100,000 disguises, all for 10 galleons.
The next morning, we see the immediate personal friction caused by the war. Fleur Delacour, who has this breathtaking beauty that seems to just consume the air in the room, she announces her engagement to Bill.
And the instant avoidance of eye contact by Mrs. Weasley, Hermione, and Ginny. It signifies this profound interpersonal tension.
The gossip that follows illuminates the dynamics. Hermione labels Fleur phlegm, criticizing her vanity.
Ginny says she'd prefer Tonks in the family, because she's a laugh, but Tonks herself is suffering immensely. Ron notes she looks miserable, like moaning Myrtle.
And Hermione, who's always the emotional analyst of the group, she reveals the core tragedy. Tonks is suffering from survivor's guilt. She believes her failure to defeat Bellatrix Lestrange allowed Bellatrix to kill Sirius, her cousin.
The emotional cost of this war, even for highly trained operatives, is just immense.
So the scene shifts to the main center of commerce, Diagon Alley, which has become grim and anxious. Shoppers are moving in tight defensive groups. Hagrid is visible, acting as this massive security guard outside Madame Malkin's.
Inside the robe shop, the confrontation with Draco Malfoy and Narcissa is just inevitable. Malfoy makes this angry, instinctive move, but he trips awkwardly over his own overlong robe.
It's a subtle reminder that despite his status, he's still a volatile, clumsy boy.
And Narcissa, restraining him, delivers this calculated, devastating taunt at Harry, using the death of his loved one as a weapon. I expect Potter will be reunited with dear Sirius before I am reunited with Lucius.
The cold cruelty is just immediate. Harry responds by raising his wand, driven by pure fury, but Hermione intervenes. She grabs his arm, worried about the trouble.
So Malfoy demands to leave, throwing his new rogues onto the floor in this act of petty rage. This scene is just a cocktail of grief, anger, and petty teenage cruelty, all layered over an existential conflict.
Harry's suspicion is now fully engaged. He, Ron, and Hermione use the invisibility cloak to follow Malfoy into the desolate, dark Nocturne alley.
Malfoy vanishes into Borgin and Burke's, the epicenter of dark artifacts. And when he leaves, he has this satisfied look on his face.
And that look, that's the critical kernel of information that drives Harry's obsession for the rest of the year.
On the train journey, the world continues to crumble around the edges. Neville, proud of his new wand, reveals the horrifying detail that Ollivander, the master wand maker, vanished next day.
Which suggests the enemy is targeting sources of magical power and supply, taking out high-value targets necessary for the defense.
Social dynamics are tested again. This girl, Romilda Vane, tries to draw Harry away, suggesting he shouldn't associate with them, Neville and Luna, who is wearing these bizarre spectre specs.
But Harry defends his friends fiercely. He grounds their value in the only metric that matters now. None of them was at the Ministry. They didn't fight with me. Loyalty earned in battle supersedes all social posturing.
And then Horace Slughorn carries out his selection process for the Slug Club, which is focused entirely on talent, fame, or political connection. He is intensely focused on the rumors of Harry being the chosen one and the prophecy.
Neville and Ginny stoutly deny it, though Slughorn is clearly unconvinced.
And Zabini reveals the purely self-interested nature of Slughorn's club. Slughorn lost interest in Nott when he heard his father was caught at the Ministry. Slughorn is entirely motivated by self-preservation, avoiding anyone connected to known captured Death Eaters.
Harry then makes a profoundly reckless decision. He uses his invisibility cloak to follow Zabini back to the Slytherin compartment, driven purely by the need to understand Malfoy's satisfied look.
The conversation confirms Malfoy's deep-seated insecurity. He boasts about his father's connection to Slughorn, but he's clearly wounded by the lack of an invitation. He forces out this singularly humorless laugh when Zabini notes Slughorn avoids Death Eaters.
It confirms his family is now fully committed to the Dark Lord.
And then Malfoy realizes someone is present. He tricks the others into leaving and then reveals this innate dark cunning. He pulls the invisibility cloak over Harry, freezing him with a leglocker curse, leaving him invisible, paralyzed, and completely vulnerable.
The physical violence that follows is brutal and intimate. Malfoy delivers a vicious personal kick that smashes Harry's nose, breaking it, leaving him bleeding profusely.
And his mocking whisper is just pure distilled malice. See you around, Potter, or not. Then he leaves, stepping deliberately on Harry's fingers as a final act of humiliation.
So Harry is left helpless, invisible, and bleeding as the train departs.
The rescue is grim and confirms the war's psychological toll. Tonks, looking miserable, appears, having realized Harry hadn't left the train. She sends a message to the castle using an immense, silvery, four-legged creature, a Patronus that is visibly different from her previous one.
It signals her immense inner distress and grief.
And Snape intercepts them at the gates. He dismisses Tonks with this cold cruelty, immediately critiquing her new Patronus. I think you were better off with the old one.
It's a subtle psychological jab, confirming he knows she's distressed.
And then he immediately punishes Harry, deducting 50 points from Gryffindor for lateness and 20 more for Harry's muggle attire. This unwarranted, calculated malice sets an incredibly negative tone for the year and confirms Harry's blinding fury and hatred for the man who is now his teacher.
So Harry, his broken nose healed by Hermione, arrives at the feast to see Malfoy literally miming the breaking of his nose to raucous laughter. The immediate psychological impact of the attack is amplified by just the sheer public mockery.
And the staff announcements are the evening centerpiece. Dumbledore confirms Slughorn as the new potions master, which stuns the hall.
But the shock just amplifies when Dumbledore announces Snape is taking his lifelong obsession, defense against the dark arts. Harry's loud protest signifies his utter disbelief that Dumbledore would grant this man such power and access.
The first potions class under Slughorn is a revelation. Slughorn introduces these extremely high-level potions, including the Draught of Living Death.
And he offers a tiny bottle of Felix Felicis, liquid luck, as a prize for the best attempt.
And Harry achieves this immediate miraculous success because of an old, heavily annotated textbook signed The Half-Blood Prince. The notes inside offer these superior, corrected instructions, showing an intense, prodigious talent for the subject.
Harry follows them precisely and produces a perfect magenta-colored potion. Malfoy, who clearly expected preferential treatment, is intensely disappointed. He realizes that mere status means nothing against pure talent, guided by secret knowledge.
Hermione is instantly suspicious. She resents the unearned success, and she tries the counterjinx specialist Revelio on the book, but nothing happens.
And she voices her worry that the prince was not a nice person, which is a crucial foreshadowing that this hidden knowledge comes with a moral complexity.
Dumbledore's lessons then begin, focused on understanding the enemy's origins through memory. The first memory involves Ogden, a ministry official, visiting this horrifyingly dilapidated shack belonging to the Gaunts.
Ogden confronts Morphin Gaunt, who is jinxing a muggle, causing highly painful hives. Morphin and his enraged father, Marvolo, speak in Parseltongue, the serpentine language that Harry strangely understands but Ogden cannot.
This immersion into a language of dark magic just emphasizes the Gaunts' dangerous isolation.
Marvolo is obsessed with his family's lost status. He displays a heavy gold locket, shaking it at Ogden and boasting, "Slytherins, Salazar Slytherins were his last living descendants." This object is not just an heirloom. It's a point of absolute furious pride tied directly to a powerful founder.
And the source of Marvol's rage is his daughter, Merope, who is looking out the window at a muggle, Tom Riddle Sr. Marvolo accuses her of hankering after a filthy, dirt-veined muggle.
This scene paints such a profound tragedy of pure-blood decline. Merope, suffering under the weight of her father's arrogance and cruelty, is desperate enough to seek solace with a non-magical man.
And Dumbledore synthesizes the history. That handsome muggle was the enemy's father. Merope conceived the enemy. Dumbledore connects this tragic, abusive family history directly to the genesis of the prophecy and the present conflict. The abuse Merope endured seems to be the first in a chain of events that leads to the greatest evil.
And a critical revelation occurs right now, tying Dumbledore's personal safety to this dark history. Harry notices the ugly gold ring Dumbledore is wearing. The one that causes terrible black hand injury is the exact ring worn by Marvolo Gaunt.
And Dumbledore confirms he acquired it very recently, around the time his hand was injured, but he postpones the full explanation. We now know Dumbledore's injury stems directly from acquiring an artifact tied to the enemy's bloodline.
Security fears continue to mount. The students learn that Stan Shunpike, the seemingly harmless night bus conductor, has been arrested as a suspected Death Eater.
Harry finds this absurd, but it signals the government's desperate tactics, arresting known low-level criminals to project an image of control.
But Harry remains obsessed with Malfoy's satisfied look.
He's appointed Quidditch captain, which is this point of normalcy in a chaotic world. Ron barely makes keeper, beating Cormac McLaggen. This accidental success feeds Ron's confidence, but also raises the stakes for him.
And then Harry, Ron, and Hermione visit Hagrid, who is upset they dropped his class. Hagrid is tending to Aragog, his dying giant spider.
And in a moment of unguarded panic, Hagrid reveals that Dumbledore is angry with Snape, but he immediately panics and denies saying it. This brief slip confirms that Dumbledore's continued trust in Snape is under strain, even if he projects total confidence to the staff.
The influence of the Half-Blood Prince is deepening. Harry, in this moment of playful cruelty, uses the nonverbal spell Leave Corpus from the prince's book on Ron. Harry notes the spell was popular in his father's time.
And Hermione continues to worry that the prince was not a nice person. But Ron defends the source purely based on its useful results.
The domestic drama then collides violently with attempted murder. Ron, accidentally exposed to a powerful love potion sent by Lavender Brown, disguised as perfume, falls deeply in love with her.
On his birthday, Harry takes him to Slughorn's office for the antidote, and then Ron accidentally drinks poison mead, a gift that was clearly intended for Dumbledore.
Slughorn, paralyzed by shock and self-interest, is useless. Harry acts instinctively. He shoves a Bezoar, a magical antidote, down Ron's throat, saving his life just as Ron's extremities are jerking uncontrollably and foam is dribbling from his mouth.
This quick, instinctive action saves Ron's life and confirms the enemy is using increasingly sophisticated methods to target Dumbledore.
Dumbledore's lessons return to the enemy's dark genesis. Harry sees the memory of Caractacus Burke, who bought Salazar Slytherin's locket from Merope, pregnant with the enemy, for a mere 10 galleons.
Noting she was in desperate need of gold. This relic, tied to their most powerful founder, was sold for a pittance because Merope was financially and emotionally destitute.
Dumbledore then shows his first meeting with 11-year-old Tom Riddle at the orphanage. Riddle is instantly characterized as odd, capable of manipulating staff and intimidating other children, revealing a casual, dark cruelty like Billy Stubbs' rabbit hanging from the rafters.
Riddle demonstrates his emerging power, claiming he can make objects move and hurt people. Dumbledore burns Riddle's wardrobe to show him real magic, then forces Riddle to confess to stealing trophies from other children, a yo-yo, a silver thimble.
And Riddle instantly grasps Dumbledore's power and becomes profoundly suspicious. He asks if his father, also Tom Riddle, was a wizard, deducing his mother must not have been magic since she died.
The lessons advance to the first murders, a critical piece of criminal framing. Dumbledore shows Morphin gaunt, drunk, and disheveled, boasting about the Riddle murders, though Morphin's memory is incomplete after the enemy's arrival.
And Dumbledore deduces the cold, terrifying truth. The enemy stupefied Morphin, stole his wand, and murdered his own father, Tom Riddle Sr., and his grandparents.
The Ministry blamed Morphin because he was a known Muggle hater, and he confessed, giving details only the murderer could know. It's a masterpiece of criminal staging.
Dumbledore explains the underage magic paradox. The Ministry detects magic, but not the perpetrator. The enemy used Morphin's wand, framed him flawlessly, and Morphin, manipulated and perhaps already guilty of other crimes, confessed.
So Harry shifts his focus entirely to Malfoy, desperately needing confirmation of his suspicions. He hires spies, Dobby and Kreacher. Dobby is enthusiastic, Kreacher is resentful but forced to obey because of the transfer of ownership.
And they report the crucial detail. Malfoy is using the Room of Requirement. This explains his disappearance from the Marauders' map.
The coordinated attacks intensify. Katie Bell is exposed to a dark, glittering necklace, which Harry recognizes from Borgin and Burke's years prior at the Three Broomsticks. The package rips open during an argument, and Katie collapses, suspended in the air.
Harry accuses Malfoy, but McGonagall dismisses the claim, citing the stringent security she implemented.
And Dumbledore confirms Katie was afflicted by a terrible curse and was extremely lucky to survive.
Ron then suggests the breakthrough. Harry must use the Felix Felicis he won. Harry drinks the liquid luck and is instantly compelled, taking this unusual detour to the vegetable patch where he finds Slughorn.
The luck guides Harry perfectly. He convinces Slughorn to attend the burial of Aragog, Hagrid's giant spider, which Slughorn surprisingly agrees to, bringing expensive wine.
And during the emotional burial, Harry uses his mother's sacrifice as this devastating emotional leverage, telling Slughorn how Voldemort let her choose to live, but she refused to leave Harry's father.
Harry forces the confrontation, knowing the liquid luck is his greatest asset. She gave me her life, but you won't give me a memory.
And Slughorn, tearful and emotionally broken by the memory of Lily, produces the crucial memory, whispering, "You've got her eyes." The Felix Felicis deliver the precise moment of emotional vulnerability needed for success, so the knowledge is secured. Harry races back to Dumbledore's office, overcoming this minor distraction from the fat lady who first lies about the password.
And Dumbledore, looking exhausted from his own recent dark encounters, he pours the retrieved Slughorn memory into the pensive.
We're immersed in the memory. A younger Slughorn surrounded by his students, with Riddle hanging back, waiting for his moment.
And Riddle asks Slughorn about Horcruxes, the darkest of magic. Objects used to hide fragments of a wizard's soul to achieve immortality.
Slughorn is deeply horrified. He describes the splitting of the soul as an act of violation, achieved only by the supreme act of evil, which is murder.
The splitting is portrayed as fundamentally unnatural, a monstrous perversion of life and death.
And Riddle's ambition is laid bare in one chilling question. He asks, hypothetically, if one soul split is enough, and then immediately suggests the number 7, the most powerfully magical number, would be better.
Slughorn is physically shaken. He shrieks, "7!" and concludes that death would be preferable to living in such a fragmented, maimed state. This memory confirms the terrifying scope of the enemy's plan.
Dumbledore then synthesizes the horrific theory. He confirms the enemy succeeded in making Horcruxes, aiming for 7 parts total. 6 external objects plus the final piece residing in his own body.
They confirm the fragments they already know. The diary was the first Horcrux, destroyed by Harry.
Then Dumbledore confirms his own dangerous acquisition and destruction of the second, Marvologon's ring. The very artifact that afflicted him with the terrible, fatal curse now visible on his hand.
Dumbledore paid a profound personal cost to destroy that single piece.
And Dumbledore, using the memory of Riddle's obsession with high-value artifacts, deduces the other targets would be similarly important objects associated with the Founders. Slytherin's locket, the one Merope sold, which the enemy later killed Hepzibah Smith for, along with Hufflepuff's cup, and something belonging to Ravenclaw.
The puzzle is now clear, and the immense burden of this knowledge necessitates absolute secrecy. Dumbledore permits Harry to share the research only with Ron and Hermione. He emphasizes that knowledge of his research must be contained.
Because if the enemy knew Dumbledore had cracked the riddle of his immortality, the targets would be instantly moved, and the war would be prolonged indefinitely.
The entire fate of the world hinges on keeping this information contained.
The intricate trap is then sprung based on, of all things, accidental information. Professor Trelawney, trying to hide her sherry bottles in the room of requirement, stumbles upon the exact area where Malfoy has been working.
And she hears him whooping, celebrating. This implies the successful repair of the Vanishing Cabinet, the key to the entire infiltration plot.
Dumbledore, aware of the intensifying danger, requests Harry join him on a mission, warning it will be exceedingly dangerous.
And Harry, furious that Malfoy has seemingly succeeded, accuses Dumbledore of leaving the school unprotected. Dumbledore sternly dismisses this, confirming additional protection is in place, a critical judgment call that turns out to be tragically wrong.
So the final, desperate mission begins. They apparate to a dark sea cave, using Harry's hand on Dumbledore's arm as a conduit.
And the entrance demands a profound, immediate price. Dumbledore cuts his own arm to open it, requiring a blood sacrifice.
Inside, the defenses are terrifying. Harry tests them with Accio Horcrux, which causes a large, pale creature to fence mechanism to erupt from the dark water and then vanish.
Dumbledore conjures a tiny boat for passage to an island in the lake center, and he confirms the dark water is filled with submerged, dead bodies and fairy.
These aren't ghosts. They're animated corpses designed as monstrous, aggressive guardians.
On the island, they find the target, a basin holding the locket, submerged in a strange green potion. Dumbledore knows the potion must be drunk to access the Horcrux.
And he delivers his most harrowing instruction. Harry must force him to keep drinking no matter his protest, because the enemy would want Dumbledore alive long enough to learn how his defenses were broken.
The drinking begins, and it is torturous. Dumbledore drinks the entire basin, and he immediately starts screaming, begging for death, crying out desperately for water. He is reduced to a state of utter helplessness and profound pain.
The single sequence just shows the immense power and cruelty of the dark magic involved in protecting the Horcrux.
The moment the basin is empty, the Inferi emerge from the water in a horde. Harry, panicked, uses Incendio and eventually creates this massive ring of fire, repelling them.
The Inferi retreat from the heat, a critical detail confirming their weakness is not light, but heat, the fundamental element opposing death and decay.
Dumbledore is utterly weakened. He has to be helped back to the boat. Harry takes the locket from the basin, only to discover, with this gut-wrenching realization, that it's a fake.
It contains a note from an anonymous RAB who stole the real one, intending to destroy it. The sacrifice was immense, and the victory is completely hollow.
The trap springs instantly upon their return to the Astronomy Tower. Harry is forced back under the cloak, and Draco Malfoy appears, pointing a wand at the severely weakened Dumbledore.
Dumbledore remains tragically calm, and he realizes the full scope of the plot. He deduces Malfoy used the repaired Vanishing Cabinet to bring in the Death Eaters who are now fighting below.
He realizes the poisoning and the cursed necklace were coordinated attacks, and that Madame Rosmerta was placed under the Imperious Curse to deliver the items.
Malfoy, hysterical, admits he spent the entire year trying to mend the cabinet. Dumbledore reveals he was aware and that Snape was keeping watch, a claim that is immediately rendered moot.
And Malfoy hysterically claims he must kill Dumbledore or the Dark Lord will kill his entire family. It exposes the blackmail that drove his actions.
4 Death Eaters, including the infamous werewolf Fenrir Greyback, who Malfoy avoids looking at, admitting he didn't know Greyback would come, burst onto the tower.
Despite the perfect opportunity and the threat to his family, Malfoy, trembling, cannot complete the murder. He is a compromised, weak boy driven by terror, not true malice.
The tension breaks with the tragic arrival of the supposed ally. Snape appears. Malfoy shrieks, "Snape!"
And Dumbledore, in a final moment of desperate, misplaced trust, utters his final plea. "Severus, please."
Snape, ignoring the plea entirely, raises his wand and blasts Dumbledore with a curse directly to the chest, sending him flying over the battlements and out of sight.
The betrayal is absolute, immediate, and utterly devastating. The man Dumbledore trusted beyond all evidence is the one who delivers the final blow.
Harry, released from the paralysis curse, pursues Snape and Malfoy down the stairs. The castle is chaos. He's tackled by Fenrir Greyback, who is then stupefied by another curse. He sees Ginny fighting a Death Eater, Amicus, who is enjoying the sport and trying to use the Cruciatus curse.
The pursuit continues outside. Harry catches Snape and yells, "Sictum," the nonverbal spell from the Half-Blood Prince's book. Snape deflects the curse easily.
Harry, just feet away, sees Snape's face clearly demented in pain, and Snape yells, "Don't call me coward," and violently slashes Harry across the face with a white-hot, whip-like force.
Snape's intense, tortured rage suggests his actions were driven by a profound internal conflict, not cold malice.
Snape, Malfoy, and the remaining Death Eaters escape by disapparating just beyond the school grounds, leaving death, chaos, and a world without its greatest protector in their wake.
The immediate aftermath is just characterized by denial and disbelief. Hagrid pulls Harry from the ground near his burning hut, and he completely refuses to believe Snape killed Dumbledore. He thinks Harry must be confused from a blow to the head.
The sheer impossibility of the betrayal is too much for even the most faithful to immediately process.
And the damage assessment is grim. In the hospital wing, Bill Weasley is grotesquely slashed by Greyback. Madame Pomfrey confirms the wounds are cursed, they're unlikely to heal fully, and Bill might possess wolfish characteristics.
The dark nature of Greyback's injuries ensures a permanent, physical mark on Bill, reflecting the lasting scars of this war.
Harry then reveals the ultimate act of duplicity to the Order members. Snape passed the information that led to his parents' deaths, and Dumbledore believed Snape was genuinely remorseful only for James's death.
Lupin, hearing this, is utterly incredulous. He's stunned by Dumbledore's willingness to place such absolute trust in a man who had confessed to enabling such a profound act of evil.
The operational failure is then explained. Ron, Hermione, and Ginny say they went to the Room of Requirement, but the entrance was already blocked.
It confirms Malfoy's successful infiltration and his ability to coordinate the attack from inside the school's most secret defenses.
And the future of Hogwarts is profoundly uncertain. The staff gathers. McGonagall admits Dumbledore's murder is more disturbing than the attack by the Chamber of Secrets monster because this was an act of calculated insider betrayal. They decide to consult the governors on whether the school has to close.
Rufus Scrimgeour, the new minister, arrives with Percy Weasley, and he immediately starts trying to extract information and gain political leverage.
But Harry denies all knowledge of Dumbledore's activities. He adheres strictly to his mentor's final order of secrecy, even if it means lying to the new government.
Harry then solidifies his personal commitment. He tells Ginny he can't continue their relationship because he must hunt the enemy, emphasizing the grave, absolute danger.
She understands. She says she knew he wouldn't be happy unless he was on the hunt, and that's why she likes him. This moment is a powerful confirmation that his path is solitary and utterly devoted to the greater cause.
The ultimate plan is then set. Harry reveals his absolute resolve to Ron and Hermione. He is not returning to Hogwarts. He'll go to the Dursleys briefly for the familial protection spell to recharge, then he'll head to Godric's Hollow, where everything started.
To find the remaining 4 Horcruxes, destroy them, and then personally kill the enemy.
The unbreakable trio is solidified. Ron and Hermione pledge to join him immediately, but they insist they must attend Bill and Fleur's wedding first.
It's a final, poignant connection to normal life before they embark on this search for the pieces of a shattered dark soul.
So we have dissected a period that's defined by the failure of political systems, the psychological toll of continuous war, and the systematic use of the darkest magic against the world's greatest defender.
And Dumbledore's murder by his most trusted, most tormented lieutenant. It's the tragic consequence of both misplaced faith and calculated strategy.
The foundation of evil has been laid bare through the Horcrux revelation. The focus is no longer on defense but offense, dismantling the essence of immortality itself.
Yeah, Harry, Ron, and Hermione have chosen to pursue the pieces of a shattered soul. They're stepping away from the relative safety of community and institution.
Their quest is utterly reliant on dark secrets, on navigating betrayal, and confronting the darkest parts of the past that Dumbledore uncovered. The pieces of the soul are out there, guarded by ancient magic and modern cruelty.
So the ultimate question for you, the one who now possesses this crucial knowledge, is not whether they can find them, but what hidden personal sacrifices, what compromises to their own morality, and what lasting psychological costs will they be forced to make in order to destroy the remaining fragments of a dark wizard who literally ripped himself apart to live forever.